Thank you. So welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, just depending on what part of the world you're joining from. I know we have people joining from Canada, from the USA, from UK, from Nigeria. So everybody is welcome to our May edition of our Business Insight webinar series, which is brought to you by iCentra. My name is Esther Shelley Lulu, and I'm going to be your host today. So I think for those who can hear me, we'll also like to hear from you. So please just say hello in the chat box. Just say hello so that I know that you are here with us. Everyone is welcome. So we hope to keep this webinar to just an hour 10 minutes, just as we discussed. So we're going to start right now. So welcome again, everyone. Today we're going to be discussing about how you can achieve business agility through Disciplined Agile. So we're going to have a great understanding on what is business agility really, what is Disciplined Agile, and how do we actually adopt Disciplined Agile to ensure that we achieve business agility. So we have seasoned speakers that are going to relate with us, share their knowledge and their insight with us today so that we can have a better understanding of Disciplined Agile and its benefits and also its challenges. So I'm going to introduce the speakers shortly. So how we're going to have this session is, so I'm going to have the speakers speak on, on different areas, and then people actually have the chance to ask questions. So we are not going to make it such that you can't relate with us. When it's time for the Q&A, you can actually drop your question in the chat box, or you can ask for permission and actually enable your camera and share so that it is very interactive. So the first speaker that we have today, which I'm just going to introduce briefly, is Mr. Taufik Babayaju. So Mr. Taufik Babayaju is a seasoned management consultant, technology and project professional with over 20 years experience and expertise in business transformation, strategy and innovation, technology consulting, information security, program portfolio management, PMO delivery, business agility, change management, business development and learning. He is the lead consultant at iCentra. iCentra is the one powering this webinar, a foremost business and technology solutions company that has a presence in Texas, United States, United Kingdom, and Abuja, Nigeria. And then the next speaker that we have, I'm just going to introduce him shortly. The next speaker that we have is Mr. John Monroe. Mr. John is an experienced global agile business lead that works with people and organizations to help them become self-sufficient at accelerating their agile capabilities. He has over 10 years of experience as an agile consultant, a coach, and a trainer. He is a partner and a co-founder of Core Objective, an internet Java design and development company that works with IBM to support clients. Mr. John is also the founder of Scrum, IMC, an organization that assists teams and firms to transform how they build business software using advanced Agile, leveraging technologies to hasten their Agile transformation. He is currently a Disciplined Agile and a Bright Line brand lead at Project Management Institute. And then the last but not the least is Mr. Pet Omotosho. He is an experienced Agile coach, a trainer, and a consultant who understands the complex challenges facing contemporary organization. He works with enterprise to co-create change and bring the best of Agile and Lean methods to clients. Mr. Pet has over 20 years of proven experience in energy, telecoms, information technology, financial services, education, government consulting, and not-for-profit sector. He's passionate about coaching and mentoring and working with existing Agile team. He is the founder of Lauren Consulting, an organization sold out to solving business problem and impacting knowledge. So welcome to all our speakers for today. So let's dive into the session. Again, we are going to discuss how do you achieve business agility through disciplined agile. So I'm going to start by speaking. The first question goes to Mr. Taufik Babayaju. So sir, just tell us, so we'll be talking about business agility. What is actually business agility?
Thank you very much, Esther. Would you allow me to share my screen so that I'll just do a few slides to discuss business agility? Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And I'm very privileged to be here. Last week, we discussed a little bit about Agile together with the guys from iCentra Academy. So today we're basically speaking to business insights and we're looking at what business agility is. Just like any other, emerging and new concepts in the world, there's a lot of misconception about Agile. So most people will think that by default, Agile is all about software development, but business agility is different. It's about how our organization adapts to changes to create value. The idea behind Agile approach to business is that we're more focused on deliverables or delivering value and results than on mere planning. So the ability of the organization to quickly adapt and meet the needs of the markets, as changes come through innovation. Our world is very volatile and VUCA right now. So it allows organizations to adopt the Agile way of working. I'm sure most of us have heard a bit about Disciplined Agile. So we're focusing on Disciplined Agile this time, and there's a concept from Disciplined Agile called the WOW, our way of working. So organizations need to look at their way of working and adapt it to the changes. So the two most urgent reasons for adopting Agile are speed and flexibility required by working environments that continue to both be unpredictable and volatile, like I mentioned earlier. So in simple terms, being Agile is the ability to adapt to changes when required. Agile talks about two important things: iterative and incremental. So, need for business agility. Of course, we can't overemphasize better time to market, operational efficiency, improve customer experience, understanding how to implement business agility. So you need to first of all understand the whole concept of business agility itself. So, the first step is to understand what Agile means. Of course, Agile is a mindset, it's a culture. It's not just about bringing in tools, and technology to the mix. It's first of all about the mindset. So you need to also identify your organization's culture, your people culture. Then you need to map out a strategy for executing business agility. Of course, whatever I'm an advocate of, whatever can be repeated needs to be automated so that you can free enough time for people. So you need to automate your experience, rework your culture, and also engage the team so that they take ownership of the whole Agile experience. Of course, you need to be risk inclined as an organization. If you can't take risk, if you want to see everything end to end, like we do in the traditional waterfall environments, you cannot be Agile. So thank you. That's what Agile, my understanding of Agile, and that is all I can say about Agile for the moment. So I yield the floor to my other colleagues. Esther? You need to unmute, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, sir, for that introduction on business agility. Again, from the feedback I got, it is still important because of how businesses need to quickly and easily adapt to the changes that are going on in the market to be able to give more value to the customers and also to be able to give value quickly to the market. Thank you very much, sir, for that. So I'm going to move to Mr. John. Mr. John, tell us a bit about the concept of business agile, of disciplined agile. So we have heard about business agility. So what is disciplined agile?
Okay, yeah, let me just jump in on what DA is and go from there. I just want to mention just a couple of quick things on business agility, which I just want to just highlight. The one is that when we talk about Agile, Agile is not a framework, right? It's a learning mechanism to learn what our customers want, to learn how we should adapt our organizations to be able to make changes. So it's a learning mechanism. Things like Scrum are frameworks, Scrum, Safe, they're all frameworks, way of implementing Agile. But the number one thing to keep in mind for business agility is Agile is about learning. That's the number one thing I want to mention. But I just want to also mention one more thing, and that is that the hardest part of going to Agile, and we just talked about risk, is this issue of certainty. To really be good at Agile, to really bring it in, into the organization, you have to be comfortable with uncertainty, because the idea is that we learn through doing and through experimentation. So I know I'm coming a little bit off presentation here, but I've just been seeing a recurring pattern with the people that I talk to. So just a background. My background is, give the background with my career background, but what I do for PMI is I travel the world virtually and talk to people about their Agile journey. And, the issue of being comfortable with not knowing is really important, because oftentimes I will see, and we'll hear about projects that are really big that have failed. And I can think of a few that I've come across in the last even half a year. And we're all trying to do the same thing, right? Making sure we understand all the nuances, trying to, plan things as much as we possibly can and take the uncertainty out of the project. The reality is that we need to be in action and learning and adapting, because the way the project will be different by line of business. So just keep that in mind, right? That it's, and it's not easy being comfortable with uncertainty and being okay, you're going to learn. So let me talk a little bit. I'm going to share my screen. I'll give you a sense of what DA is and kind of where it fits. Now there's what I just talked about was really about mindset, right? The Agile mindset, uncertainty, being learning, adapting, all those sorts of things. Disciplined Agile has a lot of mindset in it as well, but it's also, what I'm going to show right now is the practice guide. So we need to be able to have a place where people can take action and try things. Sorry, every once in a while I gotta lean over and turn off the heater. I'm in Canada, it's kind of cool today. So, but we need a place to do practices, and that's what Disciplined Agile effectively is. So let me just show you what this is all about. Let me just I'm just looking for a share my screen. Okay. So let me jump. First of all, I'm assuming that people know who PMI is, and certainly in Africa, PMI has almost 2 million members worldwide. But in Africa, we're in obviously several 20 countries in total. So we have really good coverage in Africa. We have a general manager who runs Africa for us. His name is George Samani, and he's an amazing guy. Some of you may already know him. He's certainly worth to talk to. Disciplined Agile is a it's a way to help you accelerate your Agile journey, right? So what we see is that while we can do training on something like Scrum or SAFe or whatever, the problem is that those frameworks effectively leave gaps on what to actually do and what actions to take. So what happens is that, so people who use Disciplined Agile, I'll just give you an example. Desjardins is a bank customer of ours in Quebec. They're relatively mid-sized, about 47,000 people, but they use Disciplined Agile to help them move from waterfall to Agile. And I'm going to show you how that works here in a second. And they also used it as, I put here, the PMO used to design custom delivery frameworks. And that's pretty common actually, where, and we call it choose your wow, but it's really about custom design and custom building your way of work based on the context of the project you're doing. Similar story with Itaú. It's a bank in Brazil. They went through this similar type of process, but you'll see sort of a recurring pattern here, right? It's helping to go from waterfall to Agile as a practice guide. Now, that was the example of Itaú and Desjardins Bank, but it's really, it helps people move from where they are today to a more Agile approach. So it helps with that transitional path is what Disciplined Agile does. We work with all the frameworks. You're going to see here in a moment that Disciplined Agile doesn't fit with, it's not a framework in and of itself. It's really to be an additive to frameworks. The frameworks today, Scrum is, even SAFe, there's, undocumented assumptions within those of things that they would expect the people taking the training to know, and they're practice-based, right? So things like, for example, take something like Scrum. Well, in Scrum, we try to understand what the users want. We do that with user stories. So in that type of training, then we would assume, in Scrum training, we would assume that, it's assumed that the participants of the training understand what user stories are. And in fact, they may, but they also may not, or they may not be able to use that type of a mechanism to make it work. So Disciplined Agile then is the bridge, if you like, between what the gaps are and being able to fill them. So if we talk, so it's a toolkit of practices. So let me just give you an example of how this works. So we're talking about business agility and what this all looks like. PMI has done an amazing job actually of designing, and this was purchased in through an organization called Disciplined Agile, which was Scott Ambler and Mark Lyons, who are exceptional thought leaders on this content, and what's in here has been tested with customers. So it's very much a real world type of environment, but it's outcome driven. So PMI's Agile is an outcome driven approach. So it's broken into 4 major areas: inception, or all the getting started things, like which would include things you would be commonly called things like charges, etc. All the getting started, construction, all the build out stuff, obviously transition, which is taking things to the hands of the to the users, and then all things along the bottom are all about ongoing improvement. So the way you read this, and this is the core part of Disciplined Agile, the way you read this is, notice it says form a team. Well, on the top left-hand corner, align to enterprise direction, explore scope. So those are outcomes. Having a team formed is an outcome. Aligning with enterprise direction is an outcome, etc. So the way you would read this is, what are my considerations when I form a team? What are my considerations to align to enterprise direction? So think of it in that context. And there's 23 of these goals or outcomes listed here. And we believe, based on our experience and testing this now for 10 years, that these are the key areas of outcomes that any project would be required to consider. So that's what Disciplined Agile is framed up for. But let me just show you, I'll quickly show you how this works. I think I'll put things into context. So I want to have something that after this session, you can take back and use yourself, right? So you can, with the help of PMI, you can be able to implement this. Let's say, for example, and we'll go through a couple different scenarios, but let's say, for example, that you've just graduated a Scrum Master class and your first job is to set up an Agile team. Let me just show you how that would be, how we would help with that. So I need to stop sharing here. And I need to share here. So this is exactly what I just showed a moment ago. It's just in a different format. Okay, so it shows inception. So form a team is here, aligned to enterprise direction. So it's the same, it's in a different order, unfortunately, but it's the same content. So inception, construction, transition, and ongoing improvement. So remember the way I said you read this, right? We'll take form a team. What are my considerations when I form a team? So here are, and this tool, by the way, is available at no charge right now. So I'll give you a link to it. I'm happy to take a look at it. But let's say you're a Scrum Master and you need to form your first team. Well, this gives you your considerations. So some considerations will include where the team members going to be sourced from, how will you evolve the strategy of the team, what will the size of the team be, the structure of the team be, skills, etc. So it gives you those considerations. And when you click on these, it gives you a short description of your options. So in this case, source of team members, it could be a new team, and you notice at the bottom is the screen changes. It gives you a description of that. The team has been assembled for this initiative and may have never worked before. So that's the description of it. The trade-offs are the team will take some time to form and perform, resulting in having to work through trust issues, awkward conversations, etc. So it gives you some of the trade-offs. So when you click the next one, existing team from another product, it gives you, again, same idea. The team has worked together before and put together a project and perhaps even in another domain. So it gives a description of what it is and the trade-offs. So the team will likely perform better than a new team since it has a history of working together. Having not worked in the domain, however, may include a little bit of some risk. And so the idea is that this gives you a couple things, right? It gives you a checklist. It also gives you guidance on the decisions so you can make something. But let's just take a different scenario. Let's say you're the manager of a department, and let's say that you need to increase your time to market, or you want to increase your throughput. Your throughput of high value items, okay? And that's likely how most managers are directed in goal. So what this gives the manager is a way to manage his transformation or her transformation within their area or department of concern. Because what it allows him, the manager, to do is make decisions based on the outcomes that he thinks he needs or she needs for that department. And so it becomes a guide. So in that way, it's very much a leadership tool. So think of this as two sides. As a manager, I can use this to help work with my colleagues and teams to be able to make decisions for how we're going to work to get the best possible outcomes. So that's one way that it's used. And as a team member, I can use this to help collaborate with my manager to be able to help us collectively make decisions on how to stand up our teams, how to work together, how to incorporate various technologies to increase flow of work, how to deprioritize work that's not important, how to identify that, how to collaborate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so as an organizational transformation tool, it's extremely helpful. I was just on a call this morning with the Brightline group, which I'm also responsible for. Brightline's all about agile transformations. So the conversation there was, that we need to, one of the reasons why, like 70% of agile organizations transforming fail. Either they don't get the results they're looking for. And a big part of that is because there's a mid-management, there's a leadership issue kind of across the organization, right? That relates to mindset. So it's not that there's a bad management necessarily. It's that there's no path to be able to do that. So what Disciplined Agile has done here, that is, they've given that path, right? They've said, here's a way forward to be able to help you transform. And the way you see it, we didn't talk about this before, but it's important. You'll notice that there are arrows here, right? So the arrows are saying you can start with, let's say, organizational distribution, right? You could start with one option and you can continually move up the options to increase your level of agility. All the ones that are involved here are recommended practices. All the ones that are above it, because you'll notice that, this one's above. A recommended practice is here, but there's one level even higher. Those are we consider to be more difficult to get to. So that's what Disciplined Agile is. And, I think, and this tool is no charge. I'm happy to send it out to you and take a look at it. But I'm very much of the mindset that, we have one course in particular that I think is highly valuable to get started with this, assuming you've got some Agile experience. It's called the DA Scrum Master. It is a 2-day course, taught by our partners. It's an amazing look into how this works. We don't go into a lot of detail on the browser in that. So if you had more questions about the browser, you can look at it online. You'll see some videos, et cetera, about how to use it. But that's really where I think is a sort of starting point for organizations to say, yeah, I need help with a pathway. I need a way to get everybody on the same page. I need to be able to quickly design a roadmap for my organization to be able to transform, and we need a little bit of help with that. And the nice thing with this is, as you can imagine, and we don't talk about this a lot either, and that is that, let's say you learn this tool, and we are always adding options here. We're always changing it. Once you learn the tool, you learn the tool. I mean, it's not like you need to go back for refresher training or anything like that. You learn the tool, you work the tool, use the tool as a learning platform, and you use it as the way it goes forward. So that's probably a longer answer than probably took more time than I was supposed to on that one, but I want to get that concept. I'll pass it back.
Yes, thank you. I think you did a good job explaining. One of the key things you said is Agile is a learning mechanism, and it is very important for us to take note of that. And that also people need to be very comfortable with uncertainty. And then you also said that Disciplined Agile is very important as it helps in the transition from waterfall to Agile. So thank you. Like, there are so many great concepts to explain, and about how it is used as an organizational transformation tool. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to post on the chat, and I'm going to read out the questions very soon. So thank you. So I'm going to go to Mr. Peter Motosho. So Mr. Taufik has spoken a little bit about discipline, about business agility. Mr. John Morrow has also done a good job in explaining what Disciplined Agile is. So in terms of value stream, how do you think we can work on these two concepts together? So we're talking about business agility and Disciplined Agile. As an Agile coach, how do you think we can actually leverage on Disciplined Agile to be able to have business agility as it relates to value stream?
Right. Thank you so much, Hester. I think to build on that question, I'll quickly also go through a couple of slides because if I begin to talk about value stream management or value stream itself, I might just start from the middle. So let me just quickly go through that. But first of all, thanks for putting this together. It's really a great pleasure to always have the opportunity to talk to my my home, even though I'm very far away. So this is a great opportunity. Now we'll look at business agility from the lens of disciplined agile, especially through the value stream management. John has done a good job with the Disciplined Agile toolkit, so I'm not just going to talk about that. This is just more like a short version of what John did talk about. But let me go by really showing these. This is common to a lot of people, probably where you work or you've worked in an organization where you see a lot of something very related to what you see on the screen. The information flows and control flows down from a manager or from an executive down to the people that really do the work, which shows that, you know, the flow of value is top down. And of course, value is meant to be realized by the customer, but of course it travels through the organization first before it goes back to the customer. So that said, this is what is very, very common. Now, what people focus on is all about utilization. It's all about are people 100% utilized? How we productive? How we embed quality into what we do? Are we working on the right things? And a lot of those conversations keep going on in an organization. Now, the thing is, the nature of work is quite different, right? The nature of work is really different. Now, despite the fact that work flows from the customer and back to the customer, leaders, or shall I say managers, are always in conflict. And this is because conflicting messages are passed from those managers, different managers, or different, executives, senior management, to the people that do the work. And the result of this is waste. And this is one of the things that this Disciplined Agile is fixing, and what value stream management is also trying to fix. So the reality is that work doesn't flow from top to bottom. It actually cuts across or around the customer to the organization and back to the customer. So in reality, what happened is, in fact, this is the problem. Most organizations manage work vertically, when in fact, work should be flowing horizontally. So we manage our people one way, and the flow of value is in the opposite direction. So the result of this is that we don't have uncoordinated value all over the place, pockets of value here and there across the organization. So how do we solve this problem? To solve it, we need, as an organization, as a people, as agile enthusiasts, we need to shift our attention from managing people to managing the value stream itself. So this is the inherent problem that we do see. No one is managing the value. They are too busy managing the people. So when you examine a typical value creation structure of organizations, right? No one is managing the value. They are just my direct report, my direct report, my direct report, right? So this is what we see. So we must start examining the typical value creation structure. That is what we need to start examining. What do we need to shift our focus to? Something we have on the screen now. an idea that starts with a customer, flows through the organization to the people that really do the work, maybe one or two in sales because they need to engage with the customer, and of course the development team because they need to do work that matters. And then it flows back to the customer. That is the value stream. That is what the value stream is. I think I've been able to build the concept of where value stream comes in now. Value starts, or let me say, value stream starts and end with a customer. Starts with the customer and end with the customer. Now, in clear terms, what is a value stream? So with regards to disciplined agile, this is from the disciplined agile concept or toolkit. A value stream is the set of actions that takes place to add value to a customer from the initial request through to the realization of value by that same customer. Which means the value stream is the flow of work from the customer, and it surely must benefit the customer. So I want to believe that so many people on this webinar today are knowledge workers. Everyone wants to contribute to his or her organization's business agility. And in order to do that successfully, we need to understand the value streams that actually are available in our organization to be able to achieve this. And that is one of the reasons why the DA toolkit is very powerful, because it enables knowledge workers to actually do work that matter. Now, when I say customers now, the customer can be internal or external. For example, in the HR department, the customer are always, most often, the internal people that work within the organization. And so their own value stream will start with the customer, internal customer, and end with the customer. Now, it's very important to also say that the value stream is the work and not the people doing the work. And this is from the disciplined agile lens. Okay, so why is it important? The flow of work, that is what value stream is, right? It is very important to see the flow of work. That is why everyone comes to work every day. We just want to create work that matter and want it to flow, remove bottlenecks. It also reduces delays. It reduces rework, right? So it is very, very important for us as organizations, as people, as individuals, to continue to remove these delays in the value stream so that we can reduce the extra work they do cause. If we don't remove them, it's going to cause extra work, and extra work will cause extra delays, and extra delays will cause bottleneck. And of course, it starts from simple things like, making decisions early. In fact, one of the biggest waste in projects is what is known as decision latency. I don't want to go too much into that at the moment. So the question we want to ask ourselves is, how often does work with? Now, at this point, let's pause and reflect. So I wanted to look at your current organization. Think about how many times you need to wait for someone to act on a piece of work. You're doing a piece of work, and you have to wait for someone to take, an action. Now, I wanted to think about how many times you've got to work on something else while waiting for an individual or to approve, maybe your manager, maybe a senior manager somewhere, to approve those waiting times. I wanted to think about how many times that you are waiting for work to be worked on, and when it is actually being worked on, you're waiting until certain time when the actual work is being done. Sometimes I just also want to think about a time when things get out of sync. You can't even control it anymore. or the time between when an error is introduced and when you detect that error. We can go on and on and on. So there are a lot of ways that in your current organization, in my current organization, how often does work need to wait? This is really challenging these days, right? Even the tools that we use to capture issues do not capture these problems. Now, the question is, how would you know that this problem is really occurring in your organization? This is where value stream mapping can actually help you out. Time constraint will not allow us to really go deep down into value stream mapping and how it works. But this is where value stream consultants like myself can help look at your current value streams and look at where waste are inherent. And of course, look at how we can move work forward. Look at how we can remove those times when work is really, really waiting. Now, let me tie this together. I'm looking at the final goal of value stream improvement. The final goal is business agility, whose objective is to realize the highest business value in a very short amount of time. We want to do this consistently, we want to do this sustainably, and we want to do this with high quality. Therefore, value stream management is a way to achieve business agility, is a way to achieve business agility. For business agility to take place, and I'm rounding up now, for business agility to take place, it requires that you look at the end-to-end value stream, not just the teams, end-to-end, from the beginning to the end. And that's why I built that initial, initially told you about the flow of value from customer to customer. Systems thinking comes in there. It looks at how teams relate to one another or to each other. It focuses on shortening the time of realizing value. And of course, from the beginning to the end, from concept to consumption. So I think I'll just stop there for now so that I can hand over back to Esther, and probably we can really, talk to all the people on the webinar today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for explaining value stream management extensively. So again, one of the key things that I got is it's very, very important for us to shift our attention from actually managing people to managing the value stream. And then you also spoke about the need for us in our different organizations to understand what value streams do we have available. And once we are able to focus on that, still the attention still goes back to the fact that we are trying to remove all the delays and the waste so that we can be able to give our customer better value. The focus is still about giving our customer better value. Thank you very much for that detailed explanation. So we have some questions. And please, if you would like to ask any question, you can just raise your hand. And I'll actually allow you to, to unmute your mic and ask your question. So we have some few questions here. I'll just quickly ask. So the first one is from Kuka Babafemi. He says, what is the best method of adopting disciplined agile in the workplace? I think I want Mr. John to just answer that question in 2 minutes. He said, what is the best method of adopting disciplined agile in the workplace? Mr. John, please, if you can answer that question in just 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, you're gonna keep me in a time box, all right? Okay. Here's the simplest way to do it. First of all, the simplest way to do it to implement DA in the organization is to, first of all, take some training, take the 2-day SM training, DA SM training, which you can get from our partners here. That's the number one thing. The second thing is use the browser to map where you are today. Okay, because so what you would do is you would take the link I sent you, you would go in and map where you are. So let me just, I just gotta stop someone else's screen from sharing here. So here's how.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so here's, you will know, let's just pick one here, right? So you could have this tool on your desktop, it runs in a browser, and you could just simply map out where you are today. Okay, so you could say, you know, what is our organizational distribution, for example? If you're fully, I'm just picking one here, but there's 147 of these decision points, and there's 1,500 of these. But for now, pick where you are. Let's say your organizational distribution is mostly outsources. Plot that on, you know, write that down, plot that on, put it in a Miro board or whatever, and know that the next step you need to do for improvement is to move up this step, up these curves. So the nice thing about DA is that it starts off really very low agility and then moves to extremely high agility. And you can plot on where you are. You could do basically your own assessment of your own organization using DA in all of these decision points. Okay, so start there, plot where you are, and then figure out what are the places you can do to improve. It's going to give you the highest impact on whatever your major out goal is, right? If it's increased time to market, which it probably is, or if it's increased satisfaction of the customers, use this as a guide to pick the next thing. But that's what you would do. Training, use it as an assessment tool, pick your path, and then take the next step forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, just to reiterate what he said. He said, so first of all, you take the training, the DASM training from PMI, and then I've also just shared the link again to the assessment tool. So you can use that to determine where your organization is currently, and then you pick your path of improvement. So I think that answers the question. So we have another question, which I'll just read shortly. It says, what structures need to be in place to achieve disciplined agile in the workplace? Mr. Pete, I think if you can answer that question. It says, what structures need to be in place to achieve disciplined agile in the workplace? I think, Mr. Pete, I want you to answer that, and then I also want Mr. John to just quickly chip on to that.
All right, cool. So the very first thing is where the mindset comes in, right? The mindset is very important. That is the fertile land on which you can actually build the structure of Agile generally and the structure of disciplined Agile. Now, John has talked so extensively about what you need to do. You need to do a few things personally, and of course, at the organizational level, if you can't do that, that will be okay. Now, discipline, I just said that you can actually start from where you are, right? Whatever level you are in your disciplined Agile journey. For example, let's say you're very new to Agile. You can decide to take the 2-day course. This is what John was talking about, DASM, 2 days, right? Again, let's say you just want general Agile knowledge. We've got you covered. The ACP is there, PMI ACP. This is one that was my very first Agile certification, which I did there in Ikoyi, Lagos, right? So many years ago. And if you have some experience, you can actually start from here, which means you can go to DASM straight away. However, you need to be able, or probably talk to someone like myself, to John, to Taufik. We can guide you on where you can be, because you need some level of experience to go to DASM. And of course, from there, you can continue. This is my most recent. This is the highest level of disciplined Agile certification, because the level I sit in the organization, I help organization with their transformation and putting their value streams together. This is the pathway. right? So whatever level you are, Disciplined Agile has got you covered. And of course, all these structures are all in place. People have traveled before you, just travel on their shoulder, and then you can get to wherever you want to get. I'll stop there, Tawfiq.
Yeah, so I stepped to the bathroom for a few seconds. So what was the question?
No problem. I'll ask you the question shortly.
Okay.
Your question shortly. Yes, Mr. John, if you can just also tip on to what he said.
I'll just add on to what Pete just said. I get what it is. I 100% agree with what Pete said. Makes perfect sense. But you know what? It probably starts a lot more, even more basic than that. It takes the desire to want to change. It's kind of up to that, right? If you're cruising along and things are fine and there's no organizational issues, customers are super happy, all that kind of stuff, then you know what? There's no desire. But if you got a desire to make your customers happier, to adapt and to grow your career, and you really have the desire because you want to, you want the organization to do better, you want you to do better, you want to be able to grow, you want you want to be part of something much larger, then that's where it starts. And then to Pete's point, mindset, practices all play into play.
Okay, thank you. So again, the mindset or the desire to even want the improvement, it's very, very important. And then, like he said, start from where you are. And then he has also brought in, just like Mr. John Morrow had said earlier, the importance of actually training. So that is very, very necessary. So we have another question, which I'm going to ask Mr. Tawfiq. It says, how can the Scrum Agile methodology be applied to project management processes? How can the Scrum Agile methodology be applied to project management processes? Mr. Tawfiq, if you can answer that in 2 minutes.
So thank you very much. The Scrum methodology itself is a project management methodology. It's just different from the waterfall. So it's not different from from project management as a whole. So it's about how do you move from waterfall, the traditional PM, to Agile, and Scrum is just one of the different Agile variants that is more popular because of its acceptability. So it's Agile, and it is Scrum is Agile itself. So it's about how do you move from waterfall, the traditional project management, to Agile project management, and that is pretty simple. Like we said, Agile is a mindset. It's about doing things differently. It's about practicing incremental release of value to clients. It's Agile just makes things a little bit more nimble, so that we can have a project that spans 5-10 years with so much money, and at the end of the day we do not get value from the project. But what Agile or Scrum basically started from the software environment, and it's increasingly getting more popular even in non-software environment. So you can move from, the question would be properly phrased as in, how do you move from traditional PM to Agile? Number one, start from where you are, seek the knowledge, change your mindset, and you can't be doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different results. So we need to change the way we're the traditional way of managing projects and focus more on value, either to the customer, to the organization, as against the whole project processes, initiation, planning, monitoring and evaluation, and monitoring and controlling, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So we need to do things differently. That's the whole the whole concept of Agile. Thank you.
Thank you. And then just to add on to that, I remember when Mr. John said his slides, he showed some case study. And one of the things that Disciplined Agile does from those case studies, it says it helps with the transition of moving from the waterfall to actually Agile. So just to tip into, answering that question, Disciplined Agile, I think, is one of the ways that can help in that transition, based on the case studies that we have seen, moving from waterfall to Agile. Thank you very much, Mr. Afik, for your contribution. So I'm just going to ask one question before we actually end the session. So what are some of the challenges of adopting or for people that want to adopt Disciplined Agile for business agility? So I think I'll just throw that around the table from Mr. John to Mr. Pete to Mr. Taufik. Just in a minute, based on your experience, what are some of the challenges that organizations have had in terms of adopting Disciplined Agile?
I think the one that I'm feeling right now in terms of just what I'm dealing with or globally right now is getting everybody on the same page. So I mean managers and team members on the same page and getting them to be able to communicate in an agile way. There's a lot of focus right now on the teams and was really very little in the way of manager material to help them become coaches and help them to move things forward. I think DA does a great job of that. I think it's a great starting point to be an agile to help a manager become an agile coach, along with services from companies like Pete, et cetera, and you folks. But to me, that's the biggest challenge: is how do you put in a repeatable mechanism to help the managers become agile coaches? Pete, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, John. One really important bottleneck as well is misconception, right? A lot of organizations and people think Disciplined Agile is another framework. No, it is not. It is a toolkit. One of the favorite things I used to like when I was young was to follow my dad to the mechanic, right? When we go to those mechanic, they open their toolbox. And then you hear something like, give me 13 spanner, give me 12 spanner. Taufik will be able to empathize with me on that. That's how they do it back in home in Nigeria. These guys know that there are a lot of tools in their toolbox and they can use the tool that matches the problem you bring to them. There is no one size fit all tool. Frameworks, they work for their own context. Disciplined Agile has a lot of the frameworks put together depending on the issues you have in the organization, depending on the problem you want to solve. You can open a toolkit of Disciplined Agile, pick what you need to work on and fix. So misconception is a very, very big one that we are trying to spread the word across the world through what John is doing and every one of us here, that it is not a framework, it is collections of practices, frameworks, methods, a lot of other things that you can use to make sure that the business agility journey is smooth for organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taufik.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter and
Mr.
John, for your contribution. Basically, like I usually say in my interaction with people, we all listen to a certain radio station, which is WIFM, which is what is the need for me. Okay, one of the barriers to agile adoption is, lack of understanding of, for people to understand, what is the need for them, their interests. It's fear of change. However you look at it, agile practice bring on board a lot of changes. Okay, it changes the way the organization work. So it's, in Disciplined Agile, we talk about way of working, the wow. So you need to choose your wow. Okay. So, and there's always resistance, to changes. So, proper change management is is a barrier to adoption of Agile. Of course, poor communication from management, or even management buy-in, wider buy-in. So you can't practice, you can start your Agile practice from a unit of your organization and drive it across the organization. But you can't drive Agile in isolation, okay? So you need to have larger buy-in within the organization, wider buy-in, to be able to ensure proper adoption of Agile. So for me, it's more about the people. It's more about the change of mindset. It's about the resistance. It's about lack of communication. It's about, not even communicating effectively, the values of Agile to people. So you can't just come in and say, hey, we're going Agile. Okay, it's taking me a whole lot of effort, energy, communicating, getting people to the room, to preach Agile to people in iCentra, for example. So it's a mindset. We're used to doing things in a certain way. So for us to have that change within the organization, there has to be a proper management of either interest, perception, and the risk and fear of agility. So the fear of agility is actually very, very real. It's actually very, very real. So we need to manage, that perception. Thank you very much, Esther.
Thank you. So because we're trying to keep the time, I'm just going to plead for 10 more minutes. So we will be done at 10 minutes past 5, please. So we have just 8 minutes. So what's the final, what should be the take home? So I'll just go again from Mr. John to Mr. Pete to Mr. Taffy. What will be your final words just regarding the whole conversation, or the key things you want people to take home?
Thanks. I think what's the key thing to take home? Just start. Yeah, you know what? Just start. Read the Agile Manifesto. Take the link. I gave you the link to the browser. Plot where you are today. Look for the next step of improvement where you think will have the biggest impact on either your career or the organization. And the DA doesn't know the details of those practices. Google the practices, learn more about them, and just start and try. And then next step would be to get some people in your organization to join in with you to help out. The most successful Agile transformations I've seen are ones where it starts at a team. Usually, a few team members get together, and then they start seeing results, and then it starts to. Success begets success, but you have to start. So, and if you have any questions for me after this session, by all means, send me an email or send it through, through this group, and we can get up with you as well. So, but that would be it. I would say just start.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts.
All right, yeah. So honestly, when you ask the question, the first thing that came to mind is begin where you are, which is exactly what John said. You say the pathway to let me put it this way, the journey of 1,000 miles start with the first step. The good news is it is easier now than when I started, because there are footprints that you can follow. So let's connect on LinkedIn, talk to Taufik, talk to John, talk to me. We can guide you on from wherever you are to where you, and the sky is the limit, or maybe not even the limit. Wherever you want to get to, you can definitely get to. So connect with like minds and let them guide you as well. So that's me. Take them.
Thank you, Mr. Taufik.
Thank you. My friends have said it all. Just instinctively, I wanted to say, just start, just like Nike, do it. But John has said that start from wherever you are. My friend Nazif just dropped something in the comment room. He said, sell the value. I remember 13, 14 years ago when we started to even sell project management as a culture in Nigeria. it was difficult. So now we're talking about Agile. So it's even more difficult. But the beauty is people that wait for the perfect condition to fall in place never get anything done. So we need to have open mind. We need to sell the value. We need to take it one day at a time, irrespective of where you're going to start your journey in Agile. The experience is going to be beautiful. Seriously, I must tell you. So let's have open mind. Let's learn like a baby. Agile is a journey. Nobody gets there and say, hey, I'm fully Agile. So it's a journey. Let's start the journey of agility. And I'm sure our organizations are going to be the best for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So just as we run up the session, so I just thought to pull out some of the, we kept saying start, and also the importance of training and, getting the knowledge. So here are some of the, just the starting points, some of the key PMI Agile certifications, that you can actually, start with. So the first one is the, the PMI ACP, that is the Agile Certified Practitioner. And then we also have the Disciplined Agile Scrum Master, that is the DASM. We have the Disciplined Agile Senior Scrum Master, the DASSM. And then we have the Disciplined Agile Value Stream Consultant and the Disciplined Agile Coach. So if you want to start, the best way I think is just to start with, getting the knowledge, having the understanding, and, and then you can definitely speak to us. So thank you again to everybody, for taking our time to join. I want us to close right on time. If you also want us to talk about, other topics as it relates, to project management, to technology, to business consulting, just, reach out to us, send us a message. You can either call, send an email, or reach out to us via social media. And then we'll also communicate to you on the next webinar topic and what we're going to discuss. So thank you very much, Mr. Taufik, for your time, for sharing knowledge. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Motoshaw. Thank you very much, Mr. John Morrow. And thank you very much to everybody that joined from different parts of the world. We'll see you in our next webinar. Please reach out to us. Let's network. Thank you.
Thank you,
right.
Esther.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Esther. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.